The colony ship Aurora's Dream hung in orbit above Viridian 7, its hull scarred and broken from the disaster that had crippled it 3 months ago. Inside the command deck, Captain Daniel Wright stared at the green and blue planet below. 200 colonists waited for his decision. They had no choice, really. The ship was dying, and this was the only world within reach. "They're responding to our signal," said the communications officer, a young woman named Amy Chen. Her fingers moved across the control panel. "They're inviting us to land." Daniel took a deep breath. The beings on this planet had been watching them for weeks. They called themselves the Lysari. From what little the humans had learned, they were small, peaceful, and far more advanced than Earth's civilization. "Prepare the shuttle," Daniel said. "I'll take a team down." 2 hours later, Daniel stood on alien soil for the first time. The landing site was just outside a city that seemed to grow from the ground itself. Buildings spiraled upward like living trees, glowing with soft light. The air smelled like flowers and rain. A group of figures approached. They were small, barely reaching Daniel's waist. Their skin was smooth and seemed to glow from within, shifting between soft blue and gentle purple colors. They had large eyes that reminded Daniel of a child's eyes, full of curiosity and intelligence. They wore simple robes that flowed around their tiny frames. "Welcome, humans," said the one in front. Her voice was clear and musical. "I am Mirith, leader of the council. We have been expecting you." Daniel bowed slightly, unsure of proper greeting customs. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. Our ship is damaged. We have women, children, and elderly people who need help. We're asking for shelter while we repair our vessel." Mirith's skin shifted to a warm gold color. "We know of your situation. We have been observing your ship since you entered our system. We are willing to offer more than temporary shelter. Captain Wright, we can offer you a home here, on Viridian 7. Hope surged in Daniel's chest. "That's incredibly generous. What do you want in return?" "We ask that you accept our way of helping you," Mirith said. Her skin flickered with colors Daniel couldn't interpret. "We have studied your species carefully, Captain. Humans are remarkable. But you have a weakness that concerns us." Daniel's jaw tightened. "What weakness?" "You cannot survive alone," Mirith said simply. "Your kind needs constant companionship. Without it, you become sick in your minds and bodies. We Lysari can live in solitude for many years without harm. But humans need others all the time. Especially, you need what you call intimate bonds. Partners. Mates." Daniel felt his face grow hot. "I'm not sure I understand what this has to do with offering us shelter." Mirith gestured to the group behind her. "We have volunteers. Each of your people will be assigned a Lysari partner. We will ensure that no human suffers from loneliness or isolation. We will provide companionship, emotional support, and care. In your language, we will be your wives and husbands. You want to marry us?" Daniel asked, his voice rising in disbelief. "All of us?" "Not marriage as you might define it," Mirith said patiently. "Assignment for well-being. We have the capacity to provide what you need. Our people have volunteered to bond with yours. It is the only way we can responsibly allow you to stay. We cannot watch humans deteriorate from lack of companionship when we can prevent it." Daniel looked back at his team. They seemed as shocked as he felt. "I need to discuss this with my people." "Of course," Mirith said. "But know this. If you refuse, we cannot offer you a home here. We will not be responsible for human suffering." That evening, aboard the dying ship, Daniel called a meeting. The cargo bay was packed with colonists, all desperate for news. He explained the Lysari's offer and their strange condition. The reaction was immediate and loud. Some people shouted in anger. Others laughed nervously. A few simply looked resigned. "They can't force us into relationships," said Greg Palmer, a former security officer. "This is insane." "They're not forcing anything," Daniel said tiredly. They're saying this is the price of living on their world. We're free to refuse and leave. Leave to where? Demanded Ryan Foster, one of the ship's medics. This ship has maybe 2 weeks of life support left. There's no other planet within range, so we have no choice, said a woman holding a small child. We accept or we die. In the end, the vote was almost unanimous. They would accept the Lysari's terms. What other option did they have? The next day, the assignments began. The Lysari had prepared for this carefully. They had studied each human's file, their personality, their history. They matched each person with a Lysari partner they believed would be compatible. Jake Morrison stood in line with the others, feeling numb. He was 32 years old, an engineer, and a widower. His wife had died in the accident that damaged the ship. He had barely spoken to anyone since that day. Now he was supposed to accept an alien partner assigned to him by strangers. When his turn came, a small figure stepped forward from the group of waiting Lysari. Her skin glowed a bright, excited gold. She looked up at him with huge eyes that seemed to hold entire galaxies. "Hello," she said in perfect English, her voice warm and enthusiastic. "My name is Kira. I'm a xenobiologist, which means I study life forms from other worlds. I specifically requested to be your partner, Jake Morrison. I've read everything about you." Jake stared down at her. She was so small, so alien. Her skin continued to glow with that golden light, and he realized it must be showing her emotion. She was happy, excited even. "Why did you request me?" he asked, his voice rough from disuse. "Because you lost someone you loved," Kira said softly, her skin dimming to a gentle blue. "I wanted to help you heal. Humans need partners to be healthy, and you've been alone in your grief. I can help you, if you'll let me." Something about her directness, her complete lack of pretense, made Jake's throat tight. "I don't need help. I need my wife back." Kira's skin shifted through several colors, settling on a soft purple. "I know I cannot replace her. I would never try. But humans need companionship to survive, Jake Morrison. Your people studied this. You call it many things, but you know it's true. Without bonds, humans fade. I don't want you to fade. So you've been assigned to me," Jake said flatly. "Like a prescription. Like medicine." "Yes," Kira said, not insulted at all. "Exactly like medicine. You need it to survive. I am here to provide it." Then, she smiled, a surprisingly human expression on her alien face. "But I also think we might become friends. Maybe more. In time. Humans need wives all the time, I've learned. And you've been assigned one." "Me." The petite alien smiled up at him with such genuine warmth that Jake felt something crack in his chest. Not healing. Not yet. But maybe the beginning of it. He looked down at Kira. This small, glowing creature, who had volunteered to bind herself to a grieving stranger, and managed a slight nod. "Okay. I guess we're partners then." Kira's skin exploded into brilliant gold again. As they walked together toward the transport that would take them to the surface, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that his life had just become far more complicated than he ever imagined possible. The human colonists settled into their new homes within the Lysari city. The dwellings were beautiful but strange, grown from living material that responded to touch and seemed to breathe. Each residence had been prepared for a human Lysari pair, with rooms sized for both species. Jake stood in the center of his assigned quarters, feeling lost. The space was generous, with high ceilings for him and lower furniture that Kira could use comfortably. There were 2 sleeping areas, separated by a curtain of luminescent vines. "This is your private space," Kira said, showing him the larger bedroom. "I will sleep here." She pointed to the smaller alcove nearby. "Close enough to help if you need me, but separate to give you privacy." "Is this acceptable?" "It's fine," Jake said. He set down his single bag of belongings. Everything else had been lost with the ship. Kira's skin flickered between colors, finally settling on a concerned blue. You're sad. Your heart rate has increased, and your facial muscles show distress. I'm fine, Jake repeated, more sharply than he intended. Humans say they are fine when they are not, Kira observed. I've read about this. It's a defense mechanism. You don't trust me yet. Jake sat heavily on the human-sized bed. Look, I know you're trying to help, but I don't need someone analyzing everything I feel. I just need time. Jake, Ojam. Time alone makes humans worse, Kira said gently. Studies show that isolated humans experience increased stress, depression, and physical illness. You need interaction, conversation, and physical presence. That's why I'm here. I didn't ask for this. No, Kira agreed. But you need it anyway. She moved closer, her small form barely reaching his knee as he sat. I know this is strange for you. It's strange for us too. Lissari don't usually bond this way. We're independent, solitary by nature. But we're choosing to adapt because we want to help. Why? Jake asked, looking down at her. Why do you care what happens to us? Kira's skin shifted to a thoughtful purple. Because kindness doesn't require a reason. And because we're curious. Humans are loud, emotional, messy, and fascinating. You feel everything so strongly. We want to understand that. Over the next few days, Jake learned that living with Kira was nothing like he expected. She was constantly present, observing him with those huge eyes, asking questions that felt far too personal. Why do you stare at your wife's picture for exactly 17 minutes every morning? She asked one day. Jake looked up from the small photo he'd salvaged. How do you know that? I've been timing it. You do it every day. Is 17 minutes significant in human morning rituals? It's not a ritual, Jake said, feeling his privacy invaded. I just miss her. Missing someone means thinking about them repeatedly causes pain. But you do it anyway, Kira said, her skin shifting to blue. This seems counterproductive. Why not think about something that doesn't hurt? Because I don't want to forget her. Jake snapped. Kira was quiet for a moment. Then her skin turned a deep purple. Jake blinked, surprised. Yeah, exactly that. Jake blinked. 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 I'm learning, Kira said, her skin brightening slightly. Your species is complex. The colony struggled with similar adjustments. In the communal dining area that evening, Jake saw other humans with their Lissari partners. The scenes ranged from awkward to hostile. Amy Chen sat across from her assigned partner, a male Lissari named Vorn. He was writing frantically on a datapad as Amy spoke. That was a joke, Amy said, exasperated. You don't need to record it. But I don't understand why it's funny, Vorn said, his skin showing confused yellow. You said the food tastes like cardboard, but cardboard isn't food. This is a contradiction. It's an exaggeration for humor. Amy explained. For what was clearly not the first time. Humans use false statements for amusement. Vorn muttered, adding this to his notes. Fascinating. Nearby, Ryan Foster was engaged in what looked like a meditation session with his partner Lyra. She had him sitting cross-legged, breathing slowly, while her skin pulsed with calming blue light. This is supposed to reduce your stress, Lyra said. It's making me more stressed, Ryan said through clenched teeth. Can I just go for a run instead? Running from problems is avoidance. Lyra said seriously. I meant exercise, Ryan groaned. Jake almost smiled at the chaos around him. At least he wasn't alone in finding this difficult, but the real tension came from Greg Palmer and his group. They sat together at a corner table, their Lissari partners notably absent. Greg's voice carried across the room. We shouldn't have to live like this, he said loudly. They're watching our every move, monitoring our feelings. It's not right. Several colonists nodded in agreement. The discontent had been growing. That night, Jake woke to find his quarters empty. Kira was gone. Panic seized him unexpectedly. Where was she? Was something wrong? He found her outside, sitting in a small garden area, her skin dim and gray. Kira? He approached carefully. What's wrong? She looked up at him, and he saw something like tears in her large eyes, though they didn't fall. I absorbed your nightmare. You dreamed about the accident, about your wife dying. I felt all of it. Jake sat beside her, guilt washing over him. I didn't know you could feel that. It's called emotional resonance, Kira said quietly. When Lissari bond with others, we begin to share their feelings. It's why most of my people avoid deep connections. Feeling everyone's pain is difficult. Her skin flickered with dark colors. Your grief is very heavy, Jake Morrison. Then why did you volunteer for this? Jake asked. Because someone needed to, Kira said simply. And I wanted to help you specifically. I read about your wife. She was a botanist. She loved growing things. You met her in a garden on Earth. Kira gestured to the glowing plants around them. I thought maybe surrounding you with growing things would help. Was I wrong? Jake looked at the garden with new eyes. The flowers were alien, but they were beautiful. And Kira had arranged all this for him, a stranger she'd been assigned to care for. No, he said softly. You weren't wrong. They sat in silence for a while. Then Jake did something he hadn't planned. He reached out and gently touched Kira's shoulder. She was warm, and her skin pulsed with soft light under his hand. Thank you, he said, for trying. I know I haven't made this easy. Kira's skin shifted to a gentle gold. You're grieving. It's not supposed to be easy. But we'll figure it out together. 8. The next morning, alarm bells rang through the colony. Greg Palmer and 15 others had taken supplies and left the city during the night. They'd left notes saying they were establishing their own settlement, free from Lissari supervision. Captain Daniel called an emergency meeting. We need to bring them back. The Lissari say there's dangerous weather coming. Let them go, someone said. If they want to leave, that's their choice. They'll die out there, Daniel said flatly. The storms on this planet can level buildings. Then their partners should go get them, Greg's friend said. Aren't they supposed to keep us safe? But Mirith stepped forward, her skin grave and gray. We will go. But understand this. If we lose Lissari lives saving humans who rejected our help, this arrangement ends for everyone. We cannot sustain partnerships with people who refuse to be partners. The rescue team left within the hour. Jake watched them go, then looked at Kira. You're worried, she observed. If those people die, we all lose our home here, Jake said. Then we should hope they don't die, Kira said practically. Come. You haven't eaten today. Humans need regular meals. You're going to nag me about eating now? Yes, Kira said, her skin showing determined red. That's my job. Jake followed her back inside, and for the first time since landing on this world, he felt something almost like acceptance. This was his life now. Strange, complicated, and involving a tiny alien who apparently considered feeding him a personal mission. The storm hit 6 hours later. Through the windows, Jake watched the sky turn black and the wind bend trees nearly to the ground. Somewhere out there, Greg and the others were trapped. And somewhere out there, small Lissari were risking everything to save humans who had rejected them. Jake looked at Kira, who stood beside him, her skin flickering with worried colors. Will they be okay? He asked. I don't know, Kira admitted. But Lissari don't abandon people. Even people who abandon us. Jake found himself hoping desperately that everyone would make it back. Not just for the colony's sake, but because he was starting to realize that these small, glowing beings were far braver than he'd given them credit for. The rescue team returned just before dawn. They carried 3 injured humans and had managed to find all 15 of the runaways. But 2 Lissari had been badly hurt in the rescue, their small bodies battered by the storm's fury. Jake watched as Kira's partner from the rescue team, a Lissari named Soren, was carried past on a stretcher. His skin was barely glowing, a sign of severe trauma. Kira's own skin turned white, a color Jake had never seen before. "That's the color of grief," she whispered. "Will he survive?" Jake asked. "Yes. But he'll need weeks to recover." Kira's skin flickered, with barely contained emotion. He did this for humans, who didn't even want his help. Greg Palmer was brought before the council the next day. His arm was broken, and he looked beaten down by more than just the storm. Mirith stood before him, her skin a steady, neutral gray. "You endangered Lasari lives," she said quietly. "2 of our people are seriously injured because of your actions. Explain yourself." Greg looked at the floor. "I didn't think you'd actually come for us. I thought you'd just let us go." "We do not abandon people," Mirith said, "even foolish ones. But we cannot continue this arrangement if humans refuse to respect what we offer. Your partner, Tessa, nearly died searching for you in that storm. She shielded you with her own body when debris fell. Did you know that?" Greg's face went red. The small Lasari named Tessa stood nearby, her skin pale and covered in healing wraps. She wouldn't look at Greg. "I didn't ask her to do that," Greg said weakly. "She did it anyway," Mirith said. "Because that is what partners do. They protect each other. Perhaps you should consider whether you deserve such loyalty." The incident changed something in the colony. People began looking at their Lasari partners differently. These weren't just alien babysitters or assignments. They were people who had risked everything to help. Jake found himself paying more attention to Kira. He noticed how her skin changed colors throughout the day, reflecting not just her emotions, but increasingly, his own. When he felt frustrated while fixing a water system, her skin turned orange with his irritation. When he finally solved the problem, she glowed gold with his satisfaction. "Does it hurt?" he asked her one evening. "Feeling everything I feel?" Kira considered the question carefully. "Not hurt exactly. It's more like carrying extra weight. When you're happy, it's wonderful. When you're sad, it's heavy. But I chose this." "Why?" Jake pressed. "You keep saying that, but I don't understand. Your people are peaceful, independent. Why volunteer to carry a human's emotional baggage?" Kira was quiet for a long moment. Her skin cycled through several colors before settling on soft blue. "Because my people are stagnant. Jake Morrison. We live long lives. Very long compared to yours. We're peaceful, yes. We're stable. But we haven't changed in thousands of years. We don't feel things deeply anymore. We've become comfortable, but empty." She looked up at him with those huge eyes. "Then, we discovered humans. You burn so brightly. You feel everything so intensely. You love hard, grieve hard, laugh hard, and fight hard. You're messy and complicated and alive in ways we've forgotten how to be. When the council suggested this program, I volunteered immediately. I wanted to feel that aliveness, even secondhand." Jake sat down beside her, processing this. "So we're not just charity cases. You're getting something out of this too. Is that so wrong?" Kira asked. "We help you survive. You help us remember how to truly live. It seems fair to me." "What happens to you when the bond breaks?" Jake asked. "If I left tomorrow, what would happen to you?" Kira's skin went dark. "The resonance would fade over months. I would feel hollow for a while, like missing a limb. But I would survive. Lasari always survive. We're very good at surviving." Her voice carried a note of bitterness. "Sometimes I think we're too good at it. We survive everything, even joy." Jake reached out and gently took her small hand in his. It was the first time he'd initiated physical contact beyond that one brief touch in the garden. Her skin immediately brightened, glowing, warm, gold. "I won't leave tomorrow," he said quietly. "Do you promise?" Kira asked, her voice almost childlike. "I promise." 3 weeks after the storm incident, Amy Chen knocked on Jake's door. She looked exhausted but determined. "I need advice," she said. "From someone who isn't going to judge me." Jake let her in. Kira immediately appeared with drinks, having learned that humans often talked more easily with something in their hands. "It's about Vorn," Amy said. "My partner. He's driving me crazy with his questions and his constant note-taking. But yesterday something happened. We were in the market, and this merchant tried to cheat me. Vorn got between us, and I've never seen a Lasari look dangerous before. But he did. He defended me like I was the most important thing in the world. And now you feel guilty for being touched by it," Jake guessed. "Exactly," Amy said miserably. "I'm not supposed to actually fall for my assigned alien partner. That's not how this was supposed to work. But he cares about me so genuinely, and he tries so hard to understand humans, even though we make no sense to him, and I think I'm falling in love with him." Kira's skin brightened with interest. "Love is a human emotion we're still studying. Can you describe it?" Amy laughed weakly. "It's like your chest feels too full and too empty at the same time. It's wanting someone to be happy even more than you want to be happy yourself. It's terrifying and wonderful, and it makes you do stupid things like consider spending your life with a 4-foot-tall alien who catalogs your jokes." "That sounds very human," Kira said thoughtfully. "Do you think Jake Morrison will feel this way about me eventually?" The question hung in the air. Amy looked at Jake with raised eyebrows. Jake felt his face heat. "I don't know," he said honestly. "I'm still figuring out what I feel." But that night, alone in his room, Jake found himself thinking about Kira's question. She was always there, a constant warm presence in his life. She'd learned to cook human food, though she still sometimes got spices wildly wrong. She'd created a garden for him because his dead wife had loved plants. She felt his nightmares as if they were her own and never once complained. When had she stopped being an assignment and started being a person he cared about? The answer came unexpectedly. Jake woke one night to the sound of crying. He found Kira curled in her alcove, her skin flashing between gray and white, tears streaming down her face. "What's wrong?" he asked, alarmed. "Your nightmare," she gasped. "You were dreaming about your wife again. About the day she died. The pain is so strong, Jake Morrison. How do you carry this every day?" Jake knelt beside her, guilt crushing him. "I'm sorry. I didn't know it was affecting you this badly." "It's not your fault," Kira said, trying to compose herself. "This is what I signed up for. I just wasn't prepared for how much humans can hurt inside." Jake did something then that surprised both of them. He carefully picked up Kira's small form and carried her to his bed. He sat against the headboard and held her like a child, letting her cry against his chest. "You don't have to do this alone," he said softly. "If you're carrying my pain, let me carry some of yours." Kira's skin slowly shifted from gray to blue to a soft purple. "That's what partners do," Jake said, echoing Mirith's words from weeks ago. "They protect each other. They help each other. And apparently, they hold each other when things get hard." They stayed like that for hours, Kira's small form warm against him, her skin slowly returning to calmer colors. Jake realized that somewhere along the way, he'd stopped seeing her as an alien assignment. She was just Kira, his partner, his friend, maybe, eventually, something more. The next morning, a Federation ship entered orbit. The rescue that everyone had been waiting for had finally arrived. But Jake looked at Kira, who was humming while attempting to make breakfast, her skin glowing contentedly, and felt his stomach drop. Rescue had come. But now he wasn't sure he wanted to be rescued. Everything was about to get much more complicated. Admiral Karen Phillips arrived with an entire diplomatic team and enough supplies to take every colonist back to Federation space. She was a stern woman in her 50s, with sharp eyes that seemed to calculate everything she saw. The colonists gathered in the central plaza as she addressed them. Jake stood with Kira at his side, her hand slipping into his as the crowd pressed close. "Citizens of the Federation," Admiral Phillips began, "your ordeal is over. We've brought provisions, medical supplies, and transport capacity for all of you. Within a week, you'll be heading home to proper human colonies where you can rebuild your lives." A cheer went up from some of the colonists. But Jake noticed that just as many people looked uncertain, glancing at their Lissari partners with conflicted expressions. However, the Admiral continued, her voice hardening. "We need to address the situation you've been living in. This arrangement with the Lissari, these forced partnerships, this is not acceptable by Federation standards." Mirith stepped forward, her skin flashing with insulted orange. The partnerships were not forced. They were offered as a condition of sanctuary, a condition that desperate people had no real choice but to accept, Admiral Phillips countered. "That's coercion, not consent. These people were vulnerable, and you took advantage of that vulnerability." "We saved their lives," Mirith said, her small form somehow projecting authority despite her size. "We offered shelter, resources, and emotional support that humans require to thrive. We asked only that they accept help in a form that works with our capabilities. You assigned them spouses," the Admiral said coldly. "You inserted yourselves into the most intimate aspects of their lives without giving them real alternatives. Some might call that biological manipulation." The crowd erupted in arguments. Some colonists shouted in defense of the Lissari. Others voiced agreement with the Admiral. Jake felt Kira's hand tighten in his, her skin going pale with distress. That night, an emergency meeting was called for colonists only. No Lissari were permitted to attend. Captain Daniel stood before the group, looking older than Jake had ever seen him. "The Admiral has made the situation clear," Daniel said heavily. "Anyone who chooses to stay on Viridian 7 will lose their Federation citizenship. You'll have no legal protections, no right to return to human space, no claim on any Federation resources or benefits." "That's extortion," Amy Chen said angrily. "They're punishing us for making connections here. They're trying to protect you," Daniel said. "Or at least, that's how they see it. The Federation has strict laws about human welfare and consent. From their perspective, this entire arrangement violates those principles." "But what if we want to stay?" Ryan Foster asked. "What if these relationships have become real for us?" Greg Palmer stood up, his arm still in a cast. "Real? You think a relationship that started as an assignment can be real? They manipulated us. We were desperate. And they took advantage. Tessa saved your life," someone shouted at him. "She nearly died for you." "I didn't ask her to," Greg shot back, but his voice lacked conviction. Everyone had seen how gentle Tessa was with him. How she'd cried when he was hurt, despite his cruelty to her. Jake listened to the arguing and felt sick. He looked around the room, seeing the colony fracturing before his eyes. Some people were clearly eager to leave, to return to human civilization. Others looked torn, caught between two worlds. After the meeting, Jake found Kira waiting outside. Her skin was white, that color of grief he'd learned to recognize. "You're going to leave," she said. It wasn't a question. "I don't know," Jake said honestly. "The Admiral is right," Kira said, her voice small. "This started as an assignment. You never chose me freely. I was given to you like medicine, like a tool to keep you healthy. That's not how love should begin." "Kira," Jake started, but she held up a hand. "Let me finish. I need to say this." Her skin flickered rapidly through colors. "I love you, Jake Morrison. Not as an assignment. Not as a duty. I love you as myself, as Kira. But I don't know if you love me or if you just got used to me being there. I don't know if you stay because you want to or because you feel obligated." Jake felt his throat tighten. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I release you from our partnership," Kira said, and her skin went completely white. "Formally, before the Council, I dissolve our bond. You're free to leave without guilt, without obligation. If you choose to stay, it has to be because you want to, Not because you think you owe me something. You can't just decide that alone, Jake protested. I already did, Kira said. She was crying now, those strange tears that didn't fall but just gathered in her huge eyes. The council approved it this afternoon. Our partnership is over. You're free. She turned and walked away, her small form disappearing into the luminescent gardens. Jake stood frozen, watching her go, and felt something break inside his chest. The next 3 days were chaos. Colonists argued with each other, with the Admiral, with their Lysari partners. The Lysari themselves had gone quiet. Their usual curiosity replaced with grief-white skin and withdrawn behavior. Jake tried to talk to Kira, but she avoided him. When he did catch glimpses of her, her skin was pale and dim, the light nearly gone from it. Other colonists reported the same thing. The Lysari who had bonded with humans were fading, growing sick from the severed connections. They're dying, Ryan Foster said at another meeting. Not quickly, but they're deteriorating. Lyra can barely get out of bed. She says the emotional resonance breaking is like losing a part of herself. That's manipulation, Greg insisted, though he looked uncertain. They're making themselves sick to guilt us into staying. Or, Amy said sharply, they genuinely bonded with us, and breaking those bonds hurts them. Did you ever consider that maybe their feelings are real? The Admiral called a final assembly. The Federation ship would leave in 2 days. Everyone had to decide. Jake spent those 2 days in turmoil. He visited the memorial grove, where he'd scattered his wife's ashes after bringing them planetside. He sat among the alien flowers and tried to figure out what she would want him to do. You'd tell me to be happy, he said to her memory. You'd tell me not to waste my life mourning you. He touched one of the glowing flowers Kira had planted here. But is choosing Kira honoring your memory or betraying it? I don't know anymore. On the final night, Jake found Kira in the garden where they'd first really talked. She was sitting among the plants she'd grown for him, her skin so pale it was almost transparent. You look terrible, he said, sitting beside her. Lysari don't die from broken bonds, Kira said weakly. But we wish we could. The emptiness is worse than pain. I need to know something, Jake said. That first day, when you said you requested me specifically, was that true? Kira's skin flickered with a tiny bit of gold. It was true. I read about your wife. About how you met in a garden. About how she died trying to save the ship's hydroponics bay because she believed growing things gave people hope. I thought you were brave to love someone so much that losing them broke you. I wanted to know what that felt like. And now you do, Jake said quietly. Yes, Kira whispered. Now I understand why humans grieve so hard. Love makes the emptiness unbearable. Jake took her small hand in his. I've been trying to figure out what's real. Whether I care about you because I chose to, or because circumstances forced us together. I've been driving myself crazy trying to separate obligation from genuine feeling. Did you find an answer? Kira asked. Yeah, Jake said. I realized I'm asking the wrong question. It doesn't matter how it started. What matters is what it became. And somewhere between your terrible cooking and your endless questions, and the way you held my grief like it was your own, I fell in love with you, Kira. Not with my assigned partner. With you. Kira's skin brightened slightly, hope flickering across it. You don't have to say that. You're free to leave. I know I am, Jake said. But I don't want to. I want to stay here with you. I want to teach you to cook properly. I want to learn what all your skin colors mean. I want to figure out how to make this work, not because I was assigned to you, but because I choose you. The Admiral said you'll lose your citizenship, Kira said. But her skin was growing brighter with every word. I know, Jake said. And that's terrifying. But losing you is more terrifying. You asked me once if I'd ever feel love for you. The answer is yes, I already do. Kira launched herself at him, her small form colliding with his chest as she wrapped her arms around his neck. Her skin blazed with brilliant gold light. So bright, it illuminated the entire garden. You choose me, she said, crying and laughing at once. Not because you have to, because you want to. Because I want to, Jake confirmed, holding her close. So what do we do now? Now, Kira said, her skin cycling through every happy color in her spectrum. They sat together in the garden as night deepened, holding each other while the decision point drew closer. Tomorrow, Jake would have to stand before everyone and make his choice official. But tonight, he held Kira and knew, whatever came next, he wouldn't face it alone. The morning of departure arrived with clear skies and heavy hearts. The entire colony gathered in the plaza, where Admiral Phillips had first addressed them. The Federation transport shuttle waited nearby. Its ramp extended like an invitation back to the familiar. Admiral Phillips stood before them with a data pad, ready to record final decisions. When I call your name, step forward and state your choice clearly. Those who choose to leave will board immediately. Those who stay forfeit all Federation rights and protections. There will be no changing your mind once the ship departs. The Admiral began calling names alphabetically. One by one, colonists made their choices. Baker, Christine, a woman in her 40s, stepped forward, her Lissari partner beside her. I'm staying, she said firmly. Her partner's skin flashed with relieved gold. Collins, Gary, leaving, said a young man who'd never adjusted to the Lissari way of life. His partner stood nearby, skin white with grief, but nodding in acceptance. The divisions became clear quickly. Roughly half the colonists chose to leave. They said goodbye to their partners with varying degrees of emotion. Some were cold and distant. Others cried as they parted. Greg Palmer was among those leaving, though Jake noticed he held Tessa's hand until the very last moment before boarding. Foster, Ryan. Ryan looked at Lyra, his tiny partner, who had driven him crazy with her meditation exercises and her earnest attempts to manage his stress. Staying, he said. Lyra's skin blazed so bright that several people shielded their eyes. Morrison, Jake. This was it. Jake stepped forward, very aware of Kira standing just behind him, her skin cycling anxiously between colors. He looked at the Admiral, at the shuttle that represented everything familiar, and then back at Kira. I'm staying, he said clearly. Admiral Phillips frowned. Mr. Morrison, I urge you to reconsider. You're a skilled engineer. The Federation needs people like you. You have a future in human space. I have a future here too, Jake said. With someone who matters to me. Someone who was assigned to you, the Admiral said. Someone you never chose freely. I'm choosing freely now, Jake said. Isn't that what matters? The Admiral made a note on her pad, disapproval clear on her face. Your citizenship is hereby revoked. You have no right to change your mind or request Federation assistance in the future. Understood, Jake said. He stepped back to Kira, who immediately took his hand, her skin glowing warm gold. When all the names had been called, 94 colonists had chosen to stay. 106 were leaving. Families were divided. Friends separated. But everyone had made their choice. Captain Daniel Wright was among those leaving. He approached Jake before boarding. I hope you know what you're doing, Daniel said. I don't, Jake admitted. But I know I'd regret leaving more than I'll regret staying. Take care of yourself, Daniel said. And take care of her too. She volunteered to save your life. Don't waste that gift. I won't, Jake promised. The shuttle lifted off an hour later, carrying half the colony back to human space. Those who remained stood watching until it disappeared into the sky. Then, slowly, they turned back to their Lissari partners and to the city that was now their permanent home. Mirith addressed the remaining humans that evening. Her skin showed a complex mixture of colors. Gold for happiness, blue for sadness at those who left, and purple for thoughtfulness. You have chosen to stay with us, she said. Not because you had no choice, but because you wanted to. This changes our relationship. You are no longer refugees accepting terms. You are citizens choosing a home. We welcome you. Truly and completely. As members of our world. She paused, her skin shifting to excited gold. And we have news. Our scientists have been working on something since you arrived. We believe we have achieved biological compatibility between our species. The crowd stirred with surprise. Kira's skin brightened with excitement. What does that mean? Amy asked. It means, Mirith said, that human Lissari pairs who wish to can have children together. True biological children, carrying genetic material from both parents. The first treatments are ready for those who want them. The implications hit Jake like a physical blow. Children. A future not just with Kira, but a family with her. The possibility was staggering. That night, alone with Kira in their quarters, they talked about the future. Do you want children? Kira asked, her skin showing nervous yellow. Eventually, maybe, Jake said. Do you? I never thought about it before. Kira admitted. Lysari reproduce rarely. We live so long that children are uncommon. But the idea of a child with you. I live in 19s4, part human and part Lysari. We have time to decide, Jake said, pulling her close. First, I think we should make this official. Your way and mine. You want a bonding ceremony? Kira asked, her skin flashing with excited gold. I want to marry you. Jake corrected. Properly. Not as an assignment. Not as partners in a survival program. As two people who love each other and want to build a life together. Kira's response was to glow so brightly that Jake laughed, shielding his eyes. The ceremony took place a month later. It incorporated both human and Lissari traditions. Jake wore formal clothes, salvaged from the colony's supplies. Kira wore traditional Lissari bonding robes that shimmered with her emotional colors. Captain Daniel Wright had left, but Amy Chen stood up as Jake's witness. Ryan Foster served as well, grinning as he watched his friend take this final step into his new life. The Lissari portion of the ceremony involved Kira placing her hands on Jake's chest, above his heart, while she recited the bonding words in her musical language. Her skin cycled through every color, displaying the full range of her emotions. Joy, love, hope, fear, commitment, and happiness. The human portion involved Jake slipping a ring onto Kira's tiny finger. He'd made it himself in the colony workshop, from metals native to Viridian 7. It was too large for her. But she wore it proudly, on a chain around her neck. I never thought I'd love again after my wife died, Jake said during his vows. I thought that part of my life was over. But you taught me that the heart has more capacity than we think. Loving you doesn't diminish what I felt for her. It's just different. You're not a replacement. You're yourself. And I choose you. Kira, I'll keep choosing you every day for the rest of my life. Kira's vows were simpler but no less powerful. Humans need wives all the time, she said, echoing her first words to him with a smile. And I'm glad I get to be yours, not because I was assigned, because I want to be. Always. They sealed the ceremony with a kiss, which was awkward given their size difference, but perfect nonetheless. Kira's skin blazed with such brilliant gold that the entire room seemed to glow. As the months passed, the colony transformed. The humans who had chosen to stay fully integrated into Lissari society, they contributed their skills, their perspectives, and their emotional intensity to a culture that had grown too stable and quiet. New ships began arriving. Some carried humans who had heard about Viridian 7 and wanted to experience the unique partnership program. Others brought Lissari from distant cities, curious about these emotional, passionate beings who had changed their society so profoundly. Jake and Kira's dwelling became known as a gathering place. Other human Lysari couples came to them for advice, to share stories, or simply to see proof that such different beings could build genuine love together. Ryan and Lyra formalized their bond. Amy and Vorn did the same, though Vorn still kept his catalog of Amy's jokes, and probably always would. Even Greg Palmer returned 6 months later, having realized too late what he'd lost. Tessa agreed to try again. Her capacity for forgiveness as vast as her capacity for love. One evening, a year after the Federation ship had departed, Jake stood in the garden that Kira had first made for him. It had grown larger over the months, filled with both earth plants he'd managed to grow from saved seeds and native viridian flowers. It was a perfect blend of both their worlds. Kira found him there, as she always did. She'd learned his patterns, his moods, his needs, and he'd learned hers. He knew that purple meant thoughtful, that white meant grief, that gold meant joy, and that the particular shade of amber she wore now meant contentment. "You're thinking about your wife," Kira observed, sitting beside him. It wasn't an accusation, just a statement of fact. "Yeah," Jake admitted, "thinking about how she would have liked you. How she would have loved this garden." 4:30. "I wish I could have met her," Kira said softly. "Me too," Jake said. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the twin moons of Viridian 7 rise over the city. Jake had learned that silence with someone you love is different from loneliness. It's full instead of empty. "I have news," Kira said eventually, her skin beginning to glow with excited gold. "Good news?" Jake asked. "Very good news," Kira confirmed. "The geneticists confirmed it today. I'm pregnant." Jake's world stopped, restarted, and exploded with joy all at once. "You're serious? We're having a baby?" "We're having a baby," Kira confirmed, her skin now blazing so bright she could have lit the entire garden alone. "Part you, part me. Part human, part Lissari. Completely ours." Jake picked her up, spinning her around as she laughed with delight. When he set her down, he knelt to be at eye level with her. "I love you," he said. "I don't say it enough, but I do. I love your terrible cooking experiments. I love how your skin tells me everything you feel. I love your endless questions. I love how you care so much about everything. I love you, Kira." "I love you too, Jake Morrison," Kira said, cupping his face in her small hands. "You taught me what it means to burn brightly. You taught my whole species what we were missing, feeling deeply, loving completely, living passionately. You gave us back something we'd lost. You saved my life," Jake countered. "Not just from dying in space, from dying inside from loneliness and grief. Then we saved each other," Kira said. Her skin cycled through every happy color she possessed. "Humans need wives all the time. And you've been assigned one. Me. Now and always." "Now and always," Jake agreed, pulling her close. In the garden where two worlds met, where human and alien had become simply two people who loved each other, Jake Morrison and Kira built their future together. It wasn't the life he'd planned. It wasn't the life he'd expected. It was better. The colony grew. Children were born, beautiful mixtures of both species. The Federation eventually sent ambassadors, curious about the society that had formed on Viridian 7. Some humans returned, having changed their minds. Some were welcomed back. Others were not, having burned too many bridges. But Jake and Kira remained. Their love a foundation that others built upon. They raised their daughter, a tiny girl with human features but luminescent skin that glowed when she was happy. They added more children over the years. They grew old together, though Lissari aged slower than humans, meaning Kira would outlive him, but that was a grief for another day. For now, they had each other, their family, and a home they'd built not from obligation or assignment, but from genuine choice and real love. Sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places. Sometimes the people we're supposed to meet find us in the strangest ways. And sometimes, just sometimes, an assigned alien partner becomes the love of your life. For Jake Morrison, who had lost everything and found it all again in the most unlikely place, that truth was undeniable. He'd been assigned a wife, but he'd chosen to love her. And that made all the difference.